this event and conference in such a very bad weather. So really is appreciated. And the message will be very strong for the communities back in Kashmir and back in Sheffield, that all the communities from all sections have come together to send a very strong message that the violations on human rights and the basic rights for right of self-determination, if it's denied, so we will stand up and we will support every support we will provide wherever is possible. So thank you very much for coming here. So there are a few announcements. Fire evacuation, if there is an alarm, and we don't expect any fake alarm. So if there is, so it will be real. So the fire assembly point is the Peace Garden outside. So follow the exit signs. Second thing, if I'll be able to, and the toilets are just, if you go from this corridor on the right hand side. I'll be able to ask Amar if he can circulate a signing in sheet, and they'll be coming to you, and if you can leave your details, that will be the fire and safety measures, and I have been asked by the council to take those details. We are already late, and I ask you if you have any apologies. So I have few apologies. From Lord Nazir Ahmad. He has sent a very sincere apology for this event. He was due to come down, but unfortunately, because he has arranged another event in the House of Lords, so unfortunately he is unable to make it, so he sent apology. Councillor Julie Dore, the leader of the City Council, is going to attend a very important briefing where we expect that a large amount of money possibly will be coming to the Sheffield. So it was very important. So Councillor Harry Hopham will be able to represent her during the event. I also received apology from Amnesty International and Abdi Aziz, who is chairman of the University of Sheffield Student Union, and Rashid, who was born in India, in Bihar, and he is a spokesperson for the president, and he's going to represent him in today's meeting. Without any delay, we will ask to start basically as soon as possible. So first of all, I will ask Professor Nazir Ahmad Shah, who is chairman of the Kashmir Center, London, and who is going to introduce this event. But we will have to follow the strict rules for the speakers. Please, I have given you just 5 minutes. Doesn't mean that you take all 5 minutes, and we need to finish this program by 4 o'clock definitely. And Professor, if you can finish your speech in 3 minutes, because we are already late, so we need to show the film as well. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, panelists, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. I have come all the way from London with a team of my friends comprising Barrister Abdul Majid Trambo, Chairman Kashmir Center, Brussels, Dr. Ishtiaq Ahmad from Oxford University. He is head of the Qadi-Azam chair and a human rights expert. I have with me the president of the Advisory Council of Kashmir Center, Mr. Ayub, Raja Muhammad Ayub Khan. I have with me the president of the Advisory Council of Kashmir Center, Brussels. And also we have our chief coordinator, Sabir Hussain, and Raja Ishaq from London. So this is the team which has come down to Sheffield to participate in this event on the invitation of the Councillor Mohammad Maroof. I'm thankful to you, Mr. Maroof, that you have provided me this opportunity to talk to my friends here. Why are we here? We are here in connection with the 64th World Human Rights Day. You know, this day was recently, on 10th of December, this was celebrated throughout the world. why we are celebrating this Human Rights Day is because there are conflict areas where the human rights of the people are being violated. But before we talk about the human rights violations taking place in different parts of the world, I would like to pay my respects to Eleanor Roosevelt, who made it happen for the humanity. You know, after the devastation of World War II, the international political leadership converged to create United Nations. United Nations was created to help world create peace, harmony, and progress. But unfortunately, in spite of this momentous event, the world got divided, subdivided, and the divisions continued. And the suffering and the pain and the agony in different parts of the world as well as has not ended. The two most glaring problems which are being faced by the world are Kashmir and Palestine. We have recently seen some progress on Palestine. They have been accorded non-member status, but you know, this is now a part of history, that what type of sufferings have been there with the Palestinian people, and the same has happened with the people of Kashmir. You have just now witnessed outside this chamber, you have seen that we have tried to present a glimpse of the pain of the people of Jammu and Kashmir in the shape of the exhibition. The exhibition outside is based on a report of Amnesty International, which was published by Amnesty in 2009. I had the honor to talk to Amnesty on a subject, the subject of mass graves. And the title of my talk was, Bones Have Started Speaking. We have found in Kashmir thousands of mass graves. And I think I am thankful to European Parliament for having an urgency resolution on the subject. And we want that our parliament members, our councillors, our elected people here in this United Kingdom will also contribute their bit to highlight this one of the most heinous crimes committed on humanity in this age of civilization. My dear friends, I will not take much of your time, but I would say that I have earlier said that United Nations was created for creating peace and harmony in the world. United Nations has not been able to implement its own commitments and resolutions in Kashmir. But that does not mean that we have lost faith in the United Nations. Any Kashmir solution will have to be through the United Nations and through the international community. We believe in a peaceful resolution of the conflict. Kashmir is not a religious issue. It is not a bilateral issue. It is not an issue related to terrorism. It is an issue of the right to self-determination. We welcome negotiations, but at the same time, I want to declare, and I declare it at every forum, that Kashmiri's right to self-determination is non-negotiable. We need our right. The right has been guaranteed by the United Nations Security Council. The right has been guaranteed by the United Nations Charter. The right has been guaranteed by India and Pakistan. We need redemption of this right, and I hope an atmosphere will be created in United Kingdom by our members of the Parliament, the members who reach that parliament through the vote of the people. So we have a democratic right to request them, to appeal to them that they take this matter also seriously and bring it at par with the Palestinian problem. Because, you know, both these problems are the most important issues facing the world. I would not take much of your time, and with these words, I will say that I thank your generosity, because Lord Reading used to say, generosity becomes more generous when generously responded to. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Nazir Shah Sahab. Without delaying, I will ask Paul Blomfield, who is Member of Parliament for Sheffield Central constituency, to say a few words, because he will have to leave no later than 2:45, and his aim is to watch the film. So basically we have given the time before the film, so once he has watched the film, so he will leave, and then Clive Betts and David Bowe and Linda McCowan will join us later. Thank you. Paul Blomfield.
Thanks very much, Maroof. Forgive me if I make some of the points that I made next door, but not everybody was there. I'm delighted that you have put all the energy and taken the time into organising this event. You know, I'm minded of a similar event that I was here, was at here, probably about 30 years ago in this council chamber, when we held a major symposium on the issue of Southern Africa. And at that point, David Blunkett was in the chair. And at that point, the issues of Southern Africa were far, far from being resolved. And I think that there's a broader lesson there about the importance of solidarity movements, focusing on issues which might to many of us be quite distant, and to some people here they're clearly more closer because of family links and roots, but that actually you can make an enormous difference. I can remember as a young activist in the anti-apartheid movement, at that conference I was sitting in the far corner just down there. I can remember organising protests outside Barclays Bank on days like today, giving out leaflets that dissolved as you were trying to hand them to customers, trying to encourage a boycott of the bank, to put pressure onto the South African regime to negotiate with the African National Congress and achieve the aspirations of the South African people for self-determination. And people said, you're bonkers, you're wasting your time, you're not going to be able to change the policies of a major international bank. But those sort of grassroots campaigns from ordinary people can, and in the case of South Africa, did. And after Barclays announced they were withdrawing, and other companies, one after another, because their brand was going to be tarnished, said that they would pull back from South Africa, then a regime as resolute and intolerant and authoritarian as the apartheid regime of South Africa said, we have to talk to Nelson Mandela. We have to find another way forward, because otherwise there's no future for our country. And so that international pressure can be very powerful indeed, but it needs people like you, Maroof, and others to organise it and to galvanise people. Sheffield has a great history in terms of solidarity movements. We were at the forefront of the campaign on Southern Africa, but also we're the first city of sanctuary in the UK. We have welcomed so many people from so many parts of the world, both fleeing oppression, Yemenis, Chileans, Somalis, so many different people. Is that you timing me out? Okay, well I should be fairly quick. And that's enriched our city enormously from the one that I was brought up in as a kid. But it also has brought into focus a lot of issues, and Professor Scholl talked about the injustice of Kashmir and Palestine, and he's right. I'd also raise the rights of self-determination for the people of Somaliland, which is another cause close to the hearts of many people within this city. But I think that the point I want to make is that I hope that this conference will not only focus on us telling each other how unjust the situation in Kashmir is. We know it is. But I hope that we can also focus on how you then build an effective response. And today is good because it brings people from across different communities in Sheffield together to look at the issue of Kashmir. But let's build from there to say, what steps, what practical measures, what points of pressure can we bring to bear to get people to the negotiating table and to bring life to the now more than 60-year-old resolution of the United Nations for a plebiscite for the people of Kashmir to have self-determination.
Zishan, if you can put the film on, please.
Kashmiris too are human, humans without rights. In a land of idyllic beauty and excellent delights, what this land has come to rends my heart in two. Each thought shrouded in a tear. Kashmir is crying in each ear. Kashmir is crying in each ear.
Perfection beyond this world makes Kashmir a paradise. The land of sparkling rivers and sleepy lakes, of startling gardens and regal chinar trees. Kashmir boasts some of the most beautiful flowering meadows and snow-capped peaks. The abundance of natural beauty has earned the valley the nickname Switzerland of the East. The conflict in Kashmir dates to the partition of India in 1947. The state of Jammu and Kashmir was at this time majority Muslim but with a Hindu ruler, and it was unclear whether it would accede to Pakistan or India. Its eventual accession to India became a matter of dispute between the two countries, with both India and Pakistan claiming ownership of Kashmir. After a brief war in 1947 to 48, Kashmir was divided between Pakistan and India administered territories. A ceasefire line was agreed under UN supervision, which has since been renamed the Line of Control. Kashmir continues to remain a challenge for those who seek peace, tranquility and justice for Kashmir. In the part of Kashmir which has remained turbulent for the last 16 years, which is run by the Indian administration, there remains a wanton denial of the most basic right, the right to life. Human rights of the people of Jammu and Kashmir continue to remain in a state of suspension, and most of their fundamental freedoms stand curbed. Violation of the right to life, torture, rape, custodial death, and degrading treatment. The fake encounters are rampant. Draconian laws give license to shoot and kill. invade privacy continue to remain in position. There are voices in the Indian civil society who have spoken for the rights of Kashmiris, and one such voice is the writer, author, book prize winner and activist Arundhati Roy. Recently, whilst on a visit to the UK, she spoke on the Kashmiri situation.
Not ever been really a part of India, which is why it's ridiculous for the Indian government to keep saying it's an integral part of India. India today has 500,000 troops manning that little valley. It's the highest, most militarized zone in the world. India has done everything wrong there. Apart from a military occupation, it has completely rigged elections. It has changed that valley into a little sort of puddle, a little pool of spies and informers and intelligence networks and torture chambers. And today, you know, it's come to a stage where people have just had enough. People from outside need to look at that issue very carefully and stop looking at India as if, oh, it's just this market where we can, you know, it's a good financial destination, so let it do what it wants in Kashmir. Because the whole thing is going to unravel. So I do think that even the Americans need to look into Kashmir and you know, talk about it, since they are involved in creating this cesspool there now, to create the space for them to be able to say what they want, because this is a whole population that is living in the most insufferable conditions.
Sandra Jordan travelled to Kashmir on a fact-finding mission and prepared a documentary, The Unreported World. Her observations and story of her journey should be heard.
500,000 Indian troops and police are here to crush a 15-year rebellion and keep the Muslim population Indian. Excuse me, sir, could I speak to you about your officer who beat these women? Excuse me, there she is, this woman here. She blames the military for shooting her husband. She said every day her child asks when is his father coming home. He just went out to work and now their lives have been ruined. What do you think about what's just happened here? A curious story began to unfold. But he says he doesn't think that the militants were killed in the house. He thinks they were brought from somewhere. The family is really shocked. They said that they told the family to go into this house, into the room, and they shut the curtains and said, shut the door. And half an hour later, the security forces arrived in a car, and the family here said they brought the two militants with them. The militants were not hiding in the house. They'd never seen them. And then they staged a fake encounter, put the men in there in that room, and they all fired at them for 3 hours and staged this encounter. This must be where they were killed, I think, because there's so much blood in here. Torture by Indian security forces is routine in Kashmir to gain information and to intimidate the population. Javed is another young man held in the crackdown, accused of hiding a pistol for militants.
टेबल था, टेबल के साथ बांधा, कपड़े मेरे उतारे गए, फिर उन्होंने ये जो टेलीफोन होता है ना उनके पास वो रिंग वाला.
He said all his clothes were removed and he was tied to a table.
He's my father.
How did they treat you when they came in? Were they violent towards you?
They destroy everything, and in front of us they beat my father with gun and cock gun in front of him and say we will kill you. We were here and we don't know where is my father and where is my mother. Tell us where is my mother and father.
Peace is in the headlines, but here Azadi, freedom, was the word in everyone's mouth.
In their recently published report, Lawless Law, Amnesty stated, Amnesty International opposes on principle all systems of administrative detention. The Indian Supreme Court has also described the system of administrative detention as lawless law, largely supplanting the regular criminal justice system. In JK, criminal justice systems have developed procedure, rules of evidence, and the burden of standard of proof in order to minimize the risk of punishing the innocent and to ensure punishment of the guilty. It is unacceptable for any government to circumvent these safeguards by use of preventive or any other form of administrative detention, punishing those suspected of committing offences without ever charging or trying them. In a public statement published on the 4th of April 2008, Amnesty International had said, Amnesty International urges the Government of India to launch urgent investigations into hundreds of unidentified graves discovered since 2006 in Jammu and Kashmir. The investigation must be independent, impartial, and follow international standards. The grave sites are believed to contain the remains of victims of unlawful killings, enforced disappearances, torture, and other abuses which occurred in the context of armed conflict persisting in the state since 1989. The graves of at least 940 persons have reportedly been found in 18 villages in Uri district alone. The political social psychologist Ashish Nandi wrote in a column in Outlook, psychologically speaking, the Kashmiris are already outside India and will remain there for at least 2 generations. The random killing, rapes, torture, and the other atrocities have brutalized their society and turned them into a traumatized people. Violent activism by Delhi-based psychologist Shobna Sonpa is a clinical study of men who walk the violent talk to achieve their goals. Shobna's depiction of what goes on in the valley makes Kashmir our own Abu Ghraib, where torture and humiliation of young men labelled as militants is nothing out of the ordinary. Dr. Anjana Chatterjee, convener of International People's Tribunal, who has documented 2,700 unknown, unmarked mass graves containing more than 2,943 bodies across 55 villages in Bandipora, Baramulla and Kupwara districts of Kashmir.
The construction of the canal, but what they suspect, and we have to verify, is that there was a layer of bodies already on which this rubble was poured. And across this area, right there, is the village, and that's the village where Atta Muhammad lives, who's the grave digger for these graves.
These graves include bodies of extrajudicial, summary, and arbitrary executions, as well as massacres committed by the Indian military and paramilitary forces. The report Buried Evidence by the International People's Tribunal on Human Rights and Justice in India-administered Kashmir has said in the beginning of their report, the Indian state's governance of India-administered Kashmir requires the use of discipline and death as techniques of social control. The structure of governance affiliated with militarization in Kashmir necessitates dispersed and intense forms of psychosocial regulation. As an established nation state, India's objective has been to discipline and assimilate Kashmir into its territory. To do so has required the domestication of Kashmiri peoples through the selected use of discipline and death as regulatory mechanisms. Discipline is effected through military presence, surveillance, punishment and fear. Death is dispersed through extrajudicial means and those authorized by law. Psychosocial control is exercised through the use of death, deception, to discipline the living. Discipline rewards forgetting, isolation and depoliticization.